It's 7:30, and I'm calling to order the April 22nd, 2015 meeting of City of Gaithersburg's Historic District Commission. And I'd like to start with a roll call of the folks on the dais. May I start on my left?
Trudy Schwartz, Planning and Code Administration.
Frank Johnson, Assistant City Attorney.
Red Sally Wyke.
Chris Kurtz.
John Roddy.
Chris Berger.
All right. This commission is empowered to meet and act under Article 12 of the City Code of Gaithersburg. The technical qualifications of the staff of this commission and the members of the commission are on file with the City of Gaithersburg, are available on request to any applicant, and are hereby made a part of the legal record of each and every application heard this evening. Each application heard is considered on its own merits and is not considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. Now, we have technically less than a quorum, but the items we are working on tonight do not require motions or votes. So we are in order.
Three, you're in order. 3 out of 6 is a
I
quorum.
stand corrected.
Barely.
We are quorumed. All right, well, the first item of business then are the minutes from our February 25th meeting. Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay.
I move their adoption.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 3-0. Our next item of business is an update from the staff, which are really the 22 photos that were submitted. So, Chris, would you like to take this?
Sure. As a reminder, we had a Historic Preservation Month photo contest. Historic Preservation Month is in May. And we had a photo contest from March 15th to April 15th. And we had 22 submissions, as you said, spread out among 4 photographers. So I'm going to go through the 22 photos, and you have voting sheets on your desk, and we ask you to pick your 3 favorite photos. So starting with photo number 1, this one.
I think what we thought is we'll go through them all and then go through them again.
Gotcha. Now, Mary Jo was the only other one that I saw on email who gave her thinking. So, but depending on what we do this evening, will we be presenting anything at the City Council on May 4th when they're reading the proclamation?
It won't be at the City Council meeting. It'll be at the next HDC meeting in May. So we'll award the photographer or photographers that have the photos that are selected for the Historic Preservation Month posters, which will be available at city facilities in the month of May.
Okay. All righty.
Okay, so we'll start with photo number 1. This is from Borough Park. Photo 2 is 206 South Frederick Avenue. Photo 3, 25 Walker Avenue. Photo 4 is 105 Russell Avenue. Photo 5 is at the Casey Community Center. Photo 6 is 26 Walker Avenue. Photo 7 is also 206 South Frederick Avenue. Photo 8 is Casey Community Center as well. Photo 9 is the Concert Pavilion right outside here. Photo 10 is Crown Farm. Photo 11 is the Arts Barn. Photo 12 is on East Diamond Avenue. Photo 13 is Crown Farm. Photo 14 is Old Town. 15 is City Hall. 16 is Crown Farm. 17 is 32 Walker Avenue. 18 is the Kentlands Mansion. 19 is the B&O Freight House. 20 is the Arts Barn. 21 is the Chestnut Neem Historic District sign. And 22 are the train tracks.
Now, have we, let me ask you, do you have the language that you used when you asked people to send in the photos? I mean, I'm wondering, are we looking for beauty, reference to the historicity of the city? What was the framework, what was the language used when you invited the photographs?
The wording from the press release was photos that capture historic traces of Gaithersburg past in photographs.
Capture traces of Gaithersburg's past in photographs.
So it didn't necessarily have to be a locally designated building. It can
Okay.
just be up to the photographer, their interpretation of what best captures Gaithersburg's
Okay.
past. So if you're ready, I'll go through them again.
Oh, colleagues, are you ready?
Yeah.
John? Okay.
All right, number 1 again was Bora Park. Number 2 was 206 South Frederick Avenue. Number 3 was 25 Walker Avenue. Number 4 was 105 Russell Avenue. Number 5 was the Casey Community Center. 6, we have 26 Walker Avenue. 7 was 206 South Frederick Avenue. 8 was the Casey Community Center. 9 was the Concert Pavilion. 10 was Crown Farm. 11 was the Arts Barn. 12 was East Diamond Avenue. 13 was Crown Farm. 14 was Old Town. 15 was City Hall. 16 was Crown Farm. 17 was 32 Walker Avenue. 18 was the Kentlands Mansion. 19 was the B&O Freight House. 20 was the Arts Barn. 21 was the Chestnut Neem Historic District. And 22 was the B&O Train Tracks.
Alrighty. Ruth, what's your thinking?
Wait, it's,
I don't know that, are we allowed to discuss that, or?
no,
it's
no,
just
what
something
we're
that-
trying to, you have 3 votes, and you're supposed to put it on the sheet.
Whoa, whoa,
And-
whoa. Where is this coming from?
I think,
What Chris had explained is you have 3 votes for the ones that
I understand, but who says we can't discuss it?
well, we will give it away.
then you'll give away who's going to get it. And that's the,
Excuse me. It seems to me, are we the panel that are voting on these
It's going to be the HDC and staff.
in staff?
Mhm.
Fine. Well, why then would this be any different than if we're thinking of designations for properties for awards? I would assume we would have a discussion here, and if not, we at least should have a discussion about how we're going about expressing our opinions.
we didn't think you would want to let the cat out of the bag
What?
by telling,
Who, from
But-
whom are we keeping what secret?
Because we will be awarding them on next week, next meeting, so I would let it out that we have chosen that, and I think it takes the surprise element out of it. John, what's your thought?
Well, all right, let me, what happens, you vote for 3, he votes for 3, I vote for 3, and none of them overlap. What do we do then?
Well, there's staff involved too, but I have to agree with Trudy here. I think that there's a reason for the votes being confidential, and it's a matter of taste. And my taste, I assume, is going to be at least somewhat different from yours. And why you may have certain elements of style that you would like to see, there are going to be some that I want to see. And perhaps I don't wish to be chastised soundly by the public for having chosen what I chose.
Okay, well, maybe I missed something here, and I'm happy to have the staff weigh in, but the way I've tried to run this commission is by consensus, so I assume, like every other thing that's come before us, we would consent. I'm not willing to fall on my sword over it, but I think it's odd. Certainly we're adult enough to, if we discuss what we vote upon, that we can keep it in confidence until the awards are made. But it's just very strange.
Well, Commissioner White, what do you think about it?
I happen to agree with the staff on this, and I.
Fine. I abstain. You guys vote on anything you want.
But that means that you need to vote too.
No, I don't.
I mean, it would be, we don't have everybody here. We're hoping to get this score sheet to the rest of the commissioners so that they can also vote and then take it all collectively.
Well, I don't think I'm in an unduly grouchy mood. But this really strikes me as odd. None of us knows what we're voting for. It goes to some unknown staff members. You may or may not vet it among the other commissioners, and then we have no idea what's going to happen. And I'm commanded to vote. So I will do it, but this is not, in my view, the best way to run the railroad. But when I have my colleagues on each side saying they think this is a cool idea, then I'm just assuming my head is in an unusually dark place.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Chris, I'll vote for you. Give me your sheet.
No, I think John put it really, said it very well. I think we all have different opinions on what we think is artistic and beautiful, and it's truly about, I think, an individual's point of view of what's the best, and I think that will be tallied and then decided. So, and I feel like it's more democratic in that way, to do it that way, because we may be way in one direction or another should we listen to the other criteria of.
Well, and who's the staff? Is this Schlichting, Marty Manson, whomever?
No, it's Chris, Greg, and I.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It's commonly called as value voting, and
Value voting.
value voting, and
Oh, well, that explains it. I have no values, so that's my confusion. It cleared it up, Trudy. Yes, thank you. So I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Thank you.
I mean, would it help you if we
No,
put a brief explanation of why we chose?
No, the confusion is totally clear, and my votes are in.
Okay.
She looked on my paper. You know you did. You know you did.
Do you want to collect them, or shall
I'll
I?
collect them at the end of the meeting.
Wait a minute, I'm
Thank you.
gonna fold mine, so that
All
it'll
right.
be.
We can just pass them down to Chris if you want.
Well, okay,
you guys, we'll collect them at the end.
At the end of the
You
meeting?
sure they should
All
be floating around? All right. Okay, well, the next order of business is
So will
rules of
you-
procedure.
Just in terms of, so you all know what's happening, I assume you'll get an email as to what the decision
Right,
was? And
right.
you're expecting, I guess, in the next few days because,
I'm not expecting,
This-
Frank,
well, this.
I'm not expecting anything.
We're going to reach out again to the commissioners who couldn't make the meeting and allow them an
Okay.
opportunity to vote as well.
Yeah, but thank you for putting it together, and thank you for putting together the score sheet with the IDs.
Okay.
And as to my expectations, none. No, I mean, there's some lovely photographs in there. I'm sure whatever three are selected will be great. Why we're not announcing them when we're reading the proclamation evades my pea brain, but again,
Have you in the past done that? Because I've only had the 1 year last year and I don't
I
clearly
think you did all
remember-
the awards here, correctly?
We voted on the awards. We haven't voted on pictures as far
Right,
as I
this
can
is the
recall.
first time we've done
But
this.
we
Okay.
voted
In
on
the
the
past, we-
awards, and they were made before the commission.
The awards were of the past projects over the last year or so. Because I think it was allowed to go beyond the last year.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, so this is a different,
Yeah, this is
Somewhat.
something different.
Okay.
I
In the
grasp that.
past, we've just, staff has gotten pictures and made a montage
Yes.
of the historic.
Yes,
And-
But as far as
Yeah.
actual awards are concerned, we did discuss why we like this or why we
Right.
did not feel
Absolutely.
it.
well,
Yeah.
was that non-value voting? What was that then?
That was a discussion, that was not value voting.
Okay. All right. Well, you learn something new every day. I've learned about value voting. And I'm sure it's been valuable. Okay, shall we race along to our next item of business, which is the rules of procedure discussion? And have we a staff presentation?
Chris, do you want me to?
Yeah, if you could.
If I can, I know with three of you here, we do have, out of 6 members, I guess we have barely a quorum, but this has been raised before that we were taking a look. In these changes, and do you all have one that does highlight the additions and the?
Deletions, yes.
The marks up, okay, the markup,
I
that's
could
good.
explain the
Okay.
papers in front of you. The
Sure.
top copy should be, that's the current rules of procedure, and that was printed, that's available on our website. And then the one that has draft as the watermark, that one is what we have been working on. And anything in the body text that's in bold, that's an addition from the existing document. Anything that's struck through, that is something that we propose to take out of the existing document.
And just by way, and we can kind of go through, there's no particular timeline, so I think planning, and there were some very basic updates there as well. It took a couple of months, but these are not
About 5
substantive, pardon me?
5 months, almost.
Well, but not from the time that I've actually had in a draft, it was
Right.
only a few months. These are not substantive changes, some of these are basic updates, some of these are simply clarifying or referencing city code, which wasn't referenced before, some of them are clarifications. There are some process changes that, whether tonight or in the future, we can go through in some detail to explain, to lay out. And from the staff point of view, this is why, for instance, 15 days might be better than 9 days or what have you for certain applications. There are some references to Public Information Act and to the Open Meetings Act. That simply reflects what we're asking all of the commissions to do, just as part of the general templates. And there are also a couple of fairly specific rules in here in terms of rules if you have a contested hearing, very basic evidentiary rules. The idea there, and there was a similar one done for the Planning Commission, was if you do need it, if you have the kind of case where you do need some sort of basic rules to be in place, they're there, but again, it's if you need them. It doesn't, the processes that you're using now for your hearings, public hearings, I wouldn't see a need for any change in that at all, and that's not what these are trying to do. More or less, these are trying, at some level, to reflect, since these rules came out, how does it really operate, and what are some changes that might make some sense. So again, not really seeing substantive changes here, but But in terms of going through, for instance, additions to the purpose, that simply reflects what's in the city code, and there is a state law provision that establishes historic district commissions and lays out their authority, and that reflects that to some extent as well.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
Under C,
Members, officers, and duties.
so are we being cut from 7 to 5 members?
No.
Well,
No, that says
seems to be
at
what it
least
says.
5. It says at least 5. It could be as many as 7. I believe state law is
Okay,
5 to
And-
7.
all right, and just so you're clear, and there's no change in this, the quorum shall consist of the majority of the members of the HDC. So we
Right.
do not have a quorum.
We have 6 members of the HDC right now.
Right, and 3 is half of 6, right? A majority of the members.
And normally you have an odd number, so that is normally very clear, but we have an even number.
I think for purposes of what you're doing tonight,
Oh, I
you
understand.
can say a majority
I
is 50%, and that's fine. I would say if you actually had a petition before you, I would rather there be 4, and I would say so.
Okay,
But
no, I'm just,
reading the rules.
Right.
Chris, just view it as, I represent the weight of authority.
okay.
In any event, I can go through and touch on some of them as much as you want to discuss them and go through, because if this is the first time you've seen them, I can just lay out generally what, and going through just some sections generally what's there. You tell me what you want to hear from us. And staff, not just myself, but staff may have a few explanations as well, and some of the timing issues and things of that nature.
Mr. Chairman, may I address
Oh, by
that?
all means, I know, yes, please.
In the week since I've read these, I would have to say, as an inveterate nitpicker, I am very pleased with what I see here. I think
Oh, thank you.
these are relatively clear. I only had 2 instances where I had some
Okay.
niggling that I wanted to add, and I can either
Good.
do that now, or really want to suggest it to the group, both staff and the members of the commission, to consider these 2 items, and they're not terribly significant, but I think they're worth looking at simply because we can avoid problems down the road.
Sure.
One would be C10, the ex-party rule. And I think we might want to consider adding some language not only to have this rule pertain to the prior to the hearing, but also an admonition that if there's a significant chance that this may bounce back and come back again before the commission, the commissioners may want to avoid discussions on the topic. And there was at least one instance in the
That can
past
happen.
where that did
Yeah.
happen, and it occurred to me that if a significant number of people on the commission were to abstain because of prior involvement, you might have not a
No
quorum.
commission.
Yeah,
I think a reference could be made. I think what you're talking about is the first line, a pending application or application that could be subject to reconsideration.
it's something to
I
consider.
mean, sometimes you don't, it's simply an admonition because you may not know, although
Oh.
reconsideration's a 30-day limit.
Yeah, sometimes there's a good chance, and you can smell it coming, you know.
Right.
But the other thing I would raise
It's not
to
unreasonable
your
either.
consciousness is D2 on special meetings.
Before we
If
jump
I-
to that, can I
yeah.
clarify? Are you thinking, just for an example, if I had a historic house and anything I did on the exterior, I knew it had come to the HDC. So you as the commission would say, I would come and say, well, I like this and I like this. What do you think about this? are you saying even in that instance, it would be good to abstain?
Well,
Because,
you should
because
be going to the staff, not to the commissioners.
I'm saying I ran into you in the grocery store. And I just asked you that question.
If I were clever, I would dodge the answer.
Good, okay. That, I mean, I think that's what
That's what he's getting at.
you're getting at, and I just wanted to make.
No, I thought he was getting at something else, because
Yeah.
we've had him, let me tell you what
Okay.
I think you're referring to, to what you're referring. We've had situation where we've gotten at a certain point in an application, and it seems clear to the applicant as well as to us, they may want to go back and revise it and bring it back before us. I think that's the kind of thing where there's been a very robust and detailed discussion, and it's going to kind of go back for a rework, maybe discussions with staff and so forth. Isn't that the kind of thing?
More
you had
or
in
less,
mind?
yes.
But that would still be pending.
That would be a pending
It's
application.
pending, but suppose that application were withdrawn, and then they had second thoughts and they wanted to
Okay.
reapply.
Okay, so it's not a decision where somebody comes back for reconsideration afterwards, which could happen.
But that
But
could
you're
happen
talking
too.
about
That-
a
That
withdrawal.
also could happen, but there, it's quite apparent if they're coming back for rehearing. You know that they're coming back.
Usually.
You should know, yes.
I think.
I would think some language could be added
Okay, yeah.
to address that, and you'd get a chance to take a look at that.
Rusali, you had,
No, I think that there's another aspect that this could cover, and I know, for example, there's some commissioners that are very active that likes to visit the site and like to see
Mhm.
other places, and on some occasions they have like before the meeting begins, they basically make a note that they saw the homeowner and they did not speak to them, and I think that falls under this language or verbiage that was here. And I think if we were to change it, we could potentially hinder those who didn't commit any problems but are disclosing it, and bind them to basically withdraw or abstain.
recuse yourself.
Except
yes.
recuse themselves just for the mere fact of having stepped in front of the house and the homeowner was there, and for having to disclose that information. So we have to be careful in how it's worded.
Sure.
Because I think that it is, it's still valuable that any type of interaction or visit to the site will be disclosed as well.
Yeah.
Without
Yes.
the penalty of.
Right.
Well,
abstain.
the state code does recognize
But,
your ability to do that. I believe there are other parts of the rules that do reference that.
But what would happen, no, let's stay with this for a second, because I can see this happening. The weather's nice, we know something's coming, and, John and I have had lunch together, so we go over together to look at something that's coming up. Are we, am I allowed to make an observation to him about this feature or that feature, or must we?
Well, ex parte is between you and another party. It's not between you two. As a you wouldn't. Now, if it was 3 or 4 of you, shall we say, going over together, there could be a problem there with open meetings, because that's when you kick
Okay,
into
see,
a problem.
that's what I thought ex parte was getting at.
Ex parte
It was
is you
even
and a
worse.
party, between you and a party, which would be the applicant usually.
Mhm.
That's the
Usually.
usually.
Well, I tell you, I'm learning a lot tonight.
Well,
because,
glad to help.
ex parte, in my view, was directed at that, but equally, if not even more forcefully, to make sure that I and my fellow commissioners weren't going hammer and tong in private about what we felt about an
Well,
application.
I think it would be best
That's your open
if you
meeting.
abstain from doing that,
Yeah,
even if it's just the two of us,
yeah,
on the merits.
yes.
Absolutely.
But if you're saying, isn't that a lovely Italianate house, that's a different matter.
Well, but the ex parte rule is, again, between you and a party. Now,
An
an
applicant.
or an applicant. The concern thought you were going to say was, you're out there looking at it, the applicant comes out and wants to have a conversation, and my advice would have been,
That's right.
X nay,
Absolutely
cannot discuss
correct.
it because of the ex parte rule. That's when that kicks in. And it may be several words about an issue that, because you've all been, and I say you as well as the members who aren't here, to me, have been in the role enough that you know that automatically anyway, but,
Yeah.
Well, now, but let's, okay, that's all well and good, and I understand that, and without a doubt, if the owner comes out, whether it's one or several of us, it's like,
right,
sorry,
Right.
if you want to volunteer something, that's fine, but we cannot respond.
right.
And then we would disclose that we were on the site at the
Exactly.
time of the application.
That's exactly right.
We were out there last week looking, so-and-so did come out
Exactly.
and made some comments, we did not respond. But you started to go in a direction, well, what if there's more than two of us? So talk about that.
Well, if, and we're saying for purposes of tonight that the three constitutes a quorum, but let's say this is an application.
Right,
Let's say, so there are 4 of you that go out.
right,
The problem there would be the open meetings law, which does require for any meeting which is considered a grouping of a quorum, that there has to be at least an announcement, and generally speaking, public needs to know about it unless there's some reason for that to be a closed meeting.
And this is all at the same time.
Right, it's all 4 at the same time, not individually, but, and that's where you get
Mhm.
into that discussion that you were talking about.
Right.
That's where, among 2 of you, a non-quorum,
Gotcha.
state law doesn't have a problem.
Okay.
Gets to be a quorum, state law has a major problem.
gotcha.
I guess
Okay.
I'm going on the sideline of that. Wouldn't there be an ethical situation, kind of citing that situation, because you, and then in a situation not like this one where we have very able and honest commissioners, wouldn't 2 commissioners have the opportunity to sway a vote, or 3, having the opportunity to previously discuss something? I mean,
It's possible, but I can't say it's no, because sometimes
Exactly.
that does happen.
Exactly,
Sure.
and I, like Chris, thought that, and I have strictly practiced my not discussing any of the meetings or any businesses of any specific application with commissioners at any point outside of, the dais. So it's news to me that I could engage in opinion based on a.
Well, I think you have,
Application.
what you're reflecting is following some fairly strict rules to try to make sure you're making a good decision based on what you hear that night without being influenced ahead of time. And that, ethically, that makes sense. But I can't say it would be either an ex parte or an Open Meetings Act or a Public Information Act violation if 2 of you discussed. Now, not to complicate matters, but one of the big discussions that is going on now is, we don't all have to communicate face-to-face or even on the phone. We use email too. And what do you do when you start having, let's say you have a 5-member commission and you have 4 or 5 all engaging in fairly active email? Well, Maryland's Public Information Act and Open Meetings Act do not recognize that as constituting a quorum. There have been some suggestions, well, use restraint, be careful, but it's not a violation of state law in that regard at this point. Now, there have been proposals, different legislative sessions. I don't know if it was one this year or not, but it didn't get anywhere if it was brought up, because there were other things that were being done. But in any event, to try to say, and in some states it can constitute a quorum. So, and that's a very similar discussion that you're having.
No, and I mean, ultimately, when
I
we
just
did
laid that
the
out.
training, we know that if there was anything brought to a legal suit, our emails could be subpoenaed. So I think
All
that,
discoverable.
yeah. So for all ends and purposes, I think it's best if we
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, when
We'll just err on the side of caution.
Right.
Absolutely.
And
on the side of
I think
caution.
that the commission has always done that.
Yeah.
And we have that.
But the email thing is particularly pernicious, particularly when we have the rule on alternates. Because what if we have somebody who is an alternate and they just feel passionately about an item that's coming before us, and somebody subsequently litigates, even if that alternate did not vote on that matter or
Right.
even attend the meeting, somebody could raise the issue,
Could
well,
happen.
they may not have been at that meeting, and they're only an alternate, and they're not allowed to vote, but look at these 30 pages of emails
Sure.
with photographs and exhibits, so clearly they've colorated the thinking
Right.
of the commissioners.
I mean, I'd be prepared to fight that, but you're right. It certainly could raise an issue and could be something that's discussed, so. When I was in that position, I got to the point of, I will keep my emails to 1 or 2 lines at best, much for the same reason, and that wasn't because there was a legal violation, it was just practical.
Well, when I was with the feds like John, our operating rule was nothing in writing that you aren't prepared to see the next day on the front page of the
Yeah.
Washington Post.
Yeah,
Period.
At Department of Justice, I heard the same thing, and sometimes saw the same thing too. Fortunately, nothing I wrote, but,
The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention,
C2, D2.
D2 on special meetings, where we're going to give notice and then waive that notice, I think it's incumbent upon us to give the reason why we are going to waive that notice. I think the public is entitled to know why we were taking this unusual action.
for, you're suggesting that it could be waived by action of a majority for some reason. Now-
And I think we ought to
Yes.
state what the reason is
Okay.
in general terms.
For a specified reason.
For good
Yeah.
cause given.
For good, yeah, whatever the cause is, it could be a personnel action or whatever, but
Could say for specified good cause, is what you're
Yes,
saying. Mhm.
yeah, good catch.
but
And that's
basic-
original language, but
Yeah,
I would agree.
but I'm really pleased with what I see here, and
Thank you
yeah,
for
I think
reviewing it.
it's worth discussing for a meeting or two more. But
Certainly.
truly, I think we've got a very good kernel here to work with.
Ruth Ali, how about any thoughts you have?
No, I thought my computer was doing the same thing you mentioned, and I kept trying to call back and think, Chris, help me out with this, but I've had a really, really busy week, so I didn't have the opportunity. And I checked after you sent the email to make sure if it was up again, but it wasn't. So I haven't had the opportunity to read it in depth.
Right. Well, here would be my thoughts. First, kudos to you and Lynn for all the work, and kudos to you, John, for the
Well, and
close reading and good
Chris and Trudy
suggestions.
have worked, and Greg have worked on it too.
My thought would be, can we get a marked up copy of this to the fellow commissioners?
Sure.
And just invite them to ponder, but do put in there, if you will, Chris, the 2 points that John raised. Because to sit here and go through this with only 3 of us tonight, I don't, but, good job. I'm surprised by 13 that I no longer have to abide by the city code of ethics.
Actually, it's because that was transferred to another section.
Oh, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away.
Yeah, I think
That was doggone
number 8.
Sorry about that.
it. I was gonna value vote on that. Okay. All right, so good job. So let's keep, so we're in agreement on that? You'll get a.
Yep.
And then we'll talk.
Yeah,
about
I mean,
this.
we'll bring this up at our next meeting and
Sure, but what
just
I'm
continue the
thinking is,
discussion.
the only real way, I think, particularly for the non-lawyers and busy people,
Just to go through it.
just send them the markup, because otherwise they will have no idea
Right,
what's what.
right.
Yeah.
And
So-
we'll put a cover memo on it too
Yeah.
and just,
Yeah. So what else for the good of the order? Anything from staff?
Well, now there was a meeting procedures presentation. I'm not exactly sure whether there were any particular questions. I will say, in terms of the way this commission operates, I'm not sure you need a lot of insight from me in terms of, for instance, I'm here, some basic things that I will lay out when I do discuss. For instance, I go to a commission and say, introduce myself, and then here's some basic things. I'm here as your counsel. You all understand very well that this is a quasi-judicial body. You understand how important the record is. You do very well closing the record. One thing I will say that I appreciate that the chair does is when there is a petition and a question, you will very deliberately go with each member that's here and ask them to put something in the record. That does the best job at creating a record of where each member is. And it may be a matter of each member simply says, I agree with what was said. But then we have a record, not just, oh, the vote was 3-2, but we have that laid out. I have suggested that for some other boards as well. Planning tends to do that as well, and that does create a very good record. So, as we have talked about the rules, I've already mentioned the importance of the open meetings laws and the Public Information Act, which you have an understanding of anyway. I mean, I have not seen this an issue in, I guess, about a year and a half, or getting close to that, of your meetings where there's a concern with that. But I would say in terms of if there are questions, you ask as we go through the meetings anyway. But certainly, if anybody has any question, we just went through the whole Open Meetings Act issue and emails and all that, so.
No, I think that at some point there was a question raised about, for lack of a better word, the cheat sheet. When you are proposing the approval of a particular the application based on the action, like
Secretary of Interior.
exactly, Secretary
Right.
of Interior guidelines number 1 through 10. And I think that for some of us, we felt that that was outdated.
Right, it
And it
was.
needed a little bit of rewording, and also the number, the two, whatever section so and so and so had changed, because the Maryland law actually changed where that's located. So I think just getting that, and perhaps putting a little bit of verbiage on the fact that each application should include the ones below as recommended by staff. So if one of us is not, could either look at the application, because I know it's usually outlined, you know, staff recommends that it's approved and based on 2 and 5 or whatever it is, that there will be a reference to the application, but that all of that information will be updated and circulated, both by email and printed. I think it's helpful to have it with us in every meeting, so we can just, you know, if we happen to either disagree or find, encounter another finding as we discuss it with the applicant, it's helpful to just have it in front of you.
I'm not sure. Are you referring to having an updated cheat sheet?
Yes.
Well, what we've tried to do the last couple of meetings is we've been very deliberate on our staff sheet, and with a motion, a recommended motion. Now, of course, it's recommended, so it doesn't mean you have to do it. With those requirements written out.
Exactly.
And what we did
And that
for
lays
our
out the
last,
detail.
for our last Board of Appeals meeting, we put all the motions together on one sheet, so that it was an easy printout, so people could reference it quickly, as opposed to, because with this whole electronic format and you all having access, it's to reduce the paper, but I'm a paper person, so I understand. And you guys, because you use the computers maybe once a month and it's hard to get in, you're not as familiar with zipping around on the agenda to get to the end thing. So we'll definitely talk about that.
But I think Ruth Ali is also making one other suggestion, that when the staff makes a recommendation, it makes the reference to the relevant
Term.
Secretary of Interior, you know, pursuant to Secretary's recommendation 2A, that having historic significance or whatever it is. Is that what you're?
Yeah,
would make that reference
and I
easier.
think that's what Trudy is alluding to, the fact that that's already done and that we have it available to us, and that perhaps it's better if they have like all the different applications and the wording for the motion. Just
And what applies to that
exactly,
application.
and a printout per meeting. Now, but I know I particularly don't bring a copy to, but I know other commissioners do bring a copy of the Secretary of Standards motions 1 through 10. So when they encounter an application after the discussion, we have had situations when we defer from staff recommendation of what we think is most applicable.
But I thought we had gotten away from specifically referring to the Secretary of Interior
Well,
Standards.
Relevancy though, it's fine. Because the city code is what you operate under, but
Okay.
that,
Well,
That
then by
can
the
also
same
be
token,
added in.
let's have a cheat sheet on that, and make sure that, now, I don't have one of the past agendas with me, but Greg and Chris, have you been doing that pursuant to section so-and-so? And
Yeah, it's-
that it, blah, 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 and then lay out the base language of that?
It's typically
finding?
bolded at the end of the
Right.
staff
Okay.
Right.
findings and the paragraph that this gives the staff's description of what they recommend.
we can certainly make sure that that's clearly
And-
done and.
Yeah,
And
and we
available.
really just started that, I think, in the last few months.
Well, I think part of it is you're not in a position where you have to read an entire motion and have it transcribed exactly. It can be more a matter of, okay, staff has recommended approval with the following 10 conditions. We add 3, or we accept 1 through 5, or whatever your
Correct.
decision is. Can at least use that as the template, and as long as the motion's clear as to what it is you're referring to, and that's already in the record, of course, as the staff recommendation, then that should work very effectively, and that way you're not in a position of having to read an entire motion. So when I say that, read everything from, I move the following for this address, because you've already got a written record for that, so.
Yep. All right, anything else from any staff member? Chris, Trudy, Frank?
Yeah, I have a few staff updates.
Fine.
Okay, just a reminder that the Historic Preservation Month proclamation is going to be read at the May 4th.
And I'd like you to send me a copy of that
Sure.
language so I can review it, so I have rehearsed it before I read it.
Okay, it's the May 4th
Yes.
Mayor and City Council meeting,
Yeah.
which starts at 7:30. And we have the HDC training also next month on May 12th at the Red Brick Courthouse in Rockville. I understand the chair cannot make it.
I will be transforming the world in San Francisco. I've been going to a conference, there's an annual conference on global transformation where my wife is a keynote speaker, so,
Congratulations.
yep.
But those you need to go to.
Yeah.
What time on the 12th?
It is at 7 p.m. I'll send an email to
All right.
all commissioners. And finally, there's an update on the train station, the B&O train depot. At the December 2014 meeting, the HDC approved the replacement of doors, windows, and the addition of security equipment. And that application was then sent to the Maryland Historical Trust Easement Committee. They approved the security equipment. They denied the replacement of the windows. And they asked for more information regarding the replacement of the doors. And they have subsequently approved the doors. So instead of replacing the windows, Public Works is pursuing the addition of interior storm windows.
Oh, okay.
So they did not need a permit because it's interior work, but I just
Exactly.
wanted to give you an update on what's going on there.
How about the thorny question of the color of the security lights? Has that been wrestled to the earth?
Yeah, I believe they're going to stay black as originally proposed.
Yeah, it did not come in any other color. It was like, really? I mean, it surprises me that
Yeah.
there was only one color, but.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you. Well, while we're with staff, not of the greatest moment, but we had a citizen who was quite upset with the additional lighting at the Susanna House. And Any update on that?
Yeah, I reached out to the Susanna House and
Are you all familiar with this? Okay.
and informed them that the lights on the porch railing were not approved by HDC. I also sent them a copy of the Brooks Russell Walker Historic District guidelines for lighting. So they're aware of the situation, and we hope that they remedy it soon.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now, how about from fellow commissioners? Any, other than the girls are growing and getting feistier? John wants to give up his grandchildren, but anything else from you guys?
I just remember
I
we
didn't
are
say that.
televised.
Yes, understood, understood. All right, well, again, thanks for the good staff work on the photographs. And it was particularly helpful to have the sheet with the photographs numbered and the identification. Frank, thanks for your good work. And John, thanks for your good work reading through. The chair is quite open to a motion to adjourn, and everybody should remember to turn in their photo votes, value votes.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.